Do you ever want to dive deeper into the Bible, but you just don't know where to begin or struggle to feel like you even have the time? When you read the Bible, do you get frustrated because you know there is so much more in there? You just have no clue how to get it out. Or maybe you just want to know the Bible better and you're looking for any resource to help. Well, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome to the Context and Color of the Bible podcast. We are two sisters. I'm Erica.
And I'm Veronica.
We love to study the Bible and help others understand it better. When it comes to our own study of Scripture, we have found that in bringing back the context of Scripture, it adds so much to our understanding. It actually adds color to the black and white pages of the text. So, Veronica.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm good. Is it raining? I can't see.
No, it stopped raining.
Okay.
We need rain.
Kicked your kids out earlier.
I know, and then it started downpouring on them, so they all came in.
I've been here since like 1:15.
Oh, and it's almost 3. We chit-chat.
We did. We had a nice talk with Rena, though.
Yeah.
And I think the last 10 minutes I've been reviewing
Yeah.
what we're going to do. I think I'm almost done completely studying for Deuteronomy, but I think just kind of giving our listeners a heads up. As we get into the actual laws, like chapters 12 through 26, we'll probably end up doing 2 chapters a week.
Okay.
Unless you and I just end up getting into a long discussion on one law.
Right.
Because truthfully, you will see repetition from Leviticus. Also, some laws are self-explanatory.
Right.
There isn't a lot of commentary. My goal is always when we study the laws is to help the ones that don't make sense.
Right.
The ones that you go, why did God say this? And some of it is because you've got to put it back into that culture. And some of it is we just need to wrestle with it for a little bit. So, as always, this is where I say, jump on our newsletter and go, hey, I need you to explain this law. I would love to hear ahead of time what would be helpful to jump on and describe more.
So if our listeners could read through 12 through 26.
Yeah, essentially.
Essentially. And then let us know what questions you have.
Yep. Even if you go, okay, next week you're covering these chapters, still jump on either social media or our newsletter is the fastest, easiest way to get in touch with us. But even if it's next week, we can add something in.
Oh, because you figured that out.
Because I figured that out. So, but our goal for Deuteronomy is, first of all, to just study it. Because I don't know how many people have actually, I think those people who read through the Bible in a year, you read through Deuteronomy.
But you don't study it, meditate on it, think about it, wrestle with it.
Right. And so that's where our goal is as we're studying the Torah. And as Eric and I, we focus on the Old Testament mostly because that's an area where most people don't focus on. And go, okay, let's really understand what's going on in this book because there's hard topics and sometimes people outside the church throw these topics at us and we don't know what to say. So we're here, as Eric and I are discussing this, to help you go, okay, I might not have all the answers, but I'm at least a little more prepared. Mm-hmm. So with that, we're going to look at just chapter 7 today. So chapter 7 is a chapter all about conquest. And as I've said before, Moses is constantly referring back and forward. And he's talking to a people, and sometimes he's talking to them as if they were there at those events 40 years ago, and they weren't. So it can get a little confusing. So I'm not always going to point that out, but just if you sometimes go, wait a second, I thought that was a different group. Moses doesn't care. Essentially, every person, every Jew is to put themselves, even Jews today, when they celebrate Passover, they talk as if they were at the first Passover in Egypt. And so you already see that happening in this people group because truthfully, if you want people to remember it, you remember what you experience and what you live rather than I honestly couldn't tell you anything about my great-grandparents. I know my great-grandma Nelson, I don't even know if that was her last name, had hair that was 8 feet long.
Yeah, was
that Nelson or was that on
Swan's
grandma's side?
I don't know. That's a good question.
In that, and you go, okay, if we don't even know our great-grandparents or our great-great-grandparents' history, and now we're saying, hey, take this history from generations ago and remember it, the best way to do it is go act as if you lived it and you were there.
And I think that helps to make the covenant come home and become more personable when it's not just my great, 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 great grandparent acknowledged this covenant and agreed to it. I did too.
Right.
As I read through the Exodus, as I read through Deuteronomy, I'm there, experiencing it, acknowledging it, saying, yes, God. And I think that's what Moses wanted for the generations of Jewish people. Every time you're reading through it, it's like you're there saying yes to God all over again. And it becomes your covenant, your relationship, not just your parents' covenant and relationship.
Right. Which makes it more real and meaningful then. So with that, Erica, will you read chapter 7, verses 1 through 5?
7, 1 through 5. When the Lord your God brings you into the land you're about to enter and occupy, he will clear away many nations ahead of you: Hittites, Girgashites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. These 7 nations are greater and more numerous than you. When the Lord your God hands these nations over to you and you conquer them, you must completely destroy them. Make no treaties with them, show them no mercy. You must not intermarry with them. Do not let your daughters and sons marry their sons and daughters, for they will lead your children away from me to worship other gods. Then the anger of the Lord will burn against you, and he will quickly destroy you. This is what you must do. You must break down their pagan altars, shatter their sacred pillars, cut down their Asherah poles, and burn their idols.
All right. So this is where we start to get into some of those topics that are kind of hard. Because in verse 2, you see that there's nations that are stronger and larger than you. Yet, God's going to deliver them over to tiny, puny little Israel. Which on the one hand, Israel's got to be going, wow.
Right.
Who are we? But then look what God tells them to do or not do.
Don't make treaties, destroy them, cut down their worship places. Yes.
And so as you read these, I want you to start thinking ahead to Joshua, Judges, Kings, Samuel, Kings, Chronicles, all those stories in the prophets. As you go, what are they calling out? They tend to be calling out, God told you to do this and you're not doing it. But the idea, you must totally destroy them. Show them no mercy sounds very anti-Christ-like, truthfully. And with it, we're going to keep coming back to this discussion because we're going to keep seeing where God says destroy them. But I just want to point that out, put a hook there. We'll come back to it. But in verse 4, they're not supposed to intermarry. And you go, that's a testament to a wife's power of influence.
Oh, that's a good point.
So women who are listening, because it says they will turn your children away from following me to serving other gods. And it's like, okay, wife, you have influence for good or for bad. And it's like, God knows that woman has power within her family, within her household. And he's like, oh, they're going to turn you away. It's not worth it.
There's a story, and I don't think I've told on the podcast before, that the rabbis like to tell of a righteous husband and wife who couldn't have kids. So they decided to divorce so they could each have kids with someone else. Well, the righteous wife married a wicked man, and he became righteous through her influence, followed God, lived correctly. The righteous husband married a wicked woman, and he became wicked through her influence.
Oh.
And the rabbis love to tell this story and say, women, wives, you have so much influence on your home. Mm-hmm. That it was the wife. Yes. Use it for God. I mean, isn't it Proverbs that says she tears down her own home or build it up?
Right.
Are you building it up with your words, with your actions?
But with that then, so women, you have influence, but also then they're to break down the Asherah poles. They're to smash the sacred stones. They're supposed to burn the idols in the fire. And because part of conquest back then was you take the booty, you take anything you wanted. A lot of times those were made with silver and gold. And God's saying, no, you're not going to take that, that you're not going to have these even in your homes. But also, it's forbidden because it's always associated. I'm going to go back to my notes. Everything is associated with the religion is just horrible, despicable, and utter stench to the Lord, and he wants his people to have nothing to do with it. So, okay, you might see value in that golden statue or that silver statue. You are to destroy it and not bring it home. But also pointing this out as we're talking about how they're to destroy and what they're to destroy, notice these are always pagan places of worship that are just in Israel. They are just in the land. It's not like they went back to Egypt and destroyed and wiped those out. So it's just some of these laws apply literally just to the land of Egypt.
Of Israel.
Yeah, of Israel. Yeah.
Because the land of Israel is holy to God, and therefore it has certain boundaries, responsibilities that the rest of the world does not.
Well, and with that, even the land gets blessed and cursed.
Yes.
Right along with it, as we're going to get into that. If you will now read verses 6 through 11.
6. For you are a holy people who belong to the Lord your God. Of all the people on the earth, the Lord your God has chosen you to be his own special treasure. The Lord did not set his heart on you and choose you because you were more numerous than other nations, for you were the smallest of all nations. Rather, it was simply the Lord loves you, and he was keeping the oath he had sworn to your ancestors. That is why the Lord rescued you with such a strong hand from your slavery and from the oppressive hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Understand, therefore, that the Lord your God is indeed God. He is the faithful God who keeps his covenant for 1,000 generations and lavishes his unfailing love on those who love him and obey his commands. But he does not hesitate to punish and destroy those who reject him. Therefore, you must obey all these commands, decrees, and regulations I am giving you today. That seems pretty serious to me.
It does, but I love that Moses tells the people, you were chosen out of everyone else, and you're his treasured possession.
But not because you're anything special. In case you wanted to get a big head.
So it's always like on the one hand,
right,
but on the other hand, hey, you're God's special people. You're chosen by him. You were chosen out of everybody else. But not because you're amazing.
I kind of feel like Moses is constantly like backhanding compliments.
He kind of is.
Like, I still haven't forgiven you guys for all the trouble you've caused me.
Oh yeah, that'll come up next week. But with it, he didn't set his affection on you because you're amazing. You are the fewest of all people. But the Lord loved you and kept the oath he swore to your ancestors. And so you constantly have these small reminders back. Hey, don't forget about Abraham. God's faithful now, not because you're good, but because he made a promise. He made a covenant with Abraham because God's faithful to what he said. And Abraham's dead and gone, so he can't get out of it.
Which I am so thankful for, because if it was dependent on me, praise the Lord, he is faithful to what he says.
But here God's saying, Moses is telling him, you're going to have some really strict instructions and some hard laws, but he also gives him, this is why. And I just see, isn't it easier for your kids to obey when you tell them why you want them to do something? Do they have at least a little more inkling?
Yeah, they usually don't push back as much.
Right. When I can explain what's going on.
Yeah, when you're like, no, just obey me because I'm mom. When they're little, that works. But as they become teenagers
and think for themselves.
Yes, they begin to go, okay, but why, Mom? Why? Help me. And I know I do that with God myself. Like, Lord, help me understand this one. It just makes it easier. And sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't.
But with that, so I want you to think not just love when it says it in those verses, but think delight and desire. God desires them. He delights in them. And there's something about that you go, oh, I want that. But then in verse 11, Israel's motive should be to respond to God's faithfulness with their own faithfulness, not simply to avoid punishment and receive a reward. But on the other hand,
we're people.
We all do better when we...
Yes.
There are times my children obey simply to avoid the punishment. There are times my children obey because they want that ice cream after dinner.
Yep.
God gets it, and you see all of this. Ultimately, I would love my children to obey because they want to and they know it's best. But I realize punishment motivates, reward motivates. And God does the same thing. And so you're constantly going to see that being put forth to the people on the one hand and on the other. So now I want to look at verses 12 through 15. I'm not going to have you read them, Erica, but you're going to get the blessings of obedience in these verses. God says he's going to increase everything. He's going to increase the fruit of their wombs, the fruit of the womb of their livestock, and essentially the fruit of the womb of their fields.
You make me think fruit of the loom.
I know.
That's what I keep thinking of. Fruit of the womb.
But in a way, it incorporates everything because you get
Right.
the fruit. Right. But everything that can reproduce is going to do it abundantly.
I can't even imagine. So every mom.
Yes, because he says there will be no childless women.
And we have friends and family
Yeah.
that would be amazing.
I mean, can you imagine going simply by obeying God, by our nation obeying God? He goes, one of the blessings is every woman will have the children she dreams of and longs for. That just to me, it's like, God, he gets, for those of you that struggle with childlessness, and God gets that longing, and that's not supposed to be part of the story.
Right.
Ultimately, that was not what he wanted. Sin came in, the fall. But then you go, okay, those of us that have children are a blessing. Do you realize in God's perfect whole society that is healthy and obedient, you should have children? Children are a blessing. Children are a wonderful part of God's plan. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we need to be reminded, because I'll tell you the truth, Chase and I had it out over school today. That's okay. That's normal. It's not going to happen again. He knows. But you have to be reminded sometimes in those hard moments.
Yes.
Children are a blessing.
Yep.
But also then he says, this one is even bigger to me. He says they're going to be free from disease. Now, I want you to think of somebody in your life. Don't say it out loud, Air.
My lips are sealed.
Who works hard to be free from disease. Whether it's because they take all the vaccines, medications, Sudafed as soon as the cold hits, or go the other way, the people who drink the raw milk, take their melatonin, sit in their infrared saunas, do chelation. Should I stop?
You should stop right
Eat
there.
organic. I mean, but think of how we are a culture that's aiming at working desperately hard in different ways and in different forms to be free from disease.
That's so
How
true.
much money personally people spend, as a country we spend, how much time. Why do you work out, Air? Do you love it?
No, for the most part. I mean, there are days it feels good, but for the most part, I do it because I think it keeps me healthy.
You're trying to build muscle because this is perimenopause.
Right.
We need muscle. I mean, we all have to work hard to be free from disease. And in the end, we're still not. I got a cold last week flying back from Alaska.
Right.
You know, what would it be like if as a country, a nation, we were free from disease?
You know, so put Israel in the land, and they're like, and because we don't have a map, we can't show you this, but they're like the bridge between two huge continents above, and Africa, Egypt to the south. They're called the land bridge. Like, people are constantly passing through this area to connect and trade and spread wealth. And imagine you're walking through this country and all this prosperity. Like, you're seeing full families and happy children and healthy children, which in that culture would be amazing. Huge. That all your children survive to adulthood. Like, that's amazing. And you're seeing marriages and animals and vineyards, and just like everything is growing and healthy. That would be extraordinary. Mm-hmm. That would be such a, I'm trying to think of the word, but
I know, just it would draw you in.
It would draw you in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It'd be so compelling.
Mm-hmm. But with that, so even as you read this book of Deuteronomy, and we've said before, look at a map. The land is not abstract. The land is a part of their life. They depend on it. Mm-hmm. And so when God's taking care of the land, that means he's taking care of them. So their land means their life. You can completely connect the two. If the land is doing well, their lives are doing well. When the land is suffering, famines, droughts, whatever, then they're suffering. So you always have that land is a character in the story influencing what's going on and how they're doing. But also, I want to look at that word. Can you read verse 12? I will have you read that one.
If you listen to these regulations and faithfully obey them, the Lord your God will keep his covenant of unfailing love with you as he promised with an oath to your ancestors.
Did you have the word because in there?
No. Nope, I did not.
I know.
Do you want to read it in a different version? I forget what version
It might be the
is.
if.
This is New Living, my daughter's.
Or then. But anyways, that word because is literally the Hebrew word meaning heel. EKEV, which literally means following on the heels of paying attention and doing these instructions.
Heel as in H-E-E-L, not H-E-E-L.
Yes, H-E-E-L, correct. So if you pay attention to these laws and are careful to follow them, then the Lord God will do this. In the Hebrew, there's a because.
Right.
But we have this word, and it's a graphic illustration of the people following so closely, like at the heels of the Torah's instructions.
I love Hebrew.
That's what you need to be.
So you're like following in the dust of,
Yes.
to use that idiom. You are so close to the Torah that you're like, when you step on people's heels, because you're right behind them and you're like, oh, that hurts. But
Right.
that's how close you are to be to these people.
Right.
To God's instructions.
All right. So now if you'll read verse 16.
Okay. Verse 16. You must destroy all the nations the Lord your God hands over to you. Show them no mercy and do not worship their gods or they will trap you.
Are you laughing at this verse?
I'm laughing at your phone.
My phone is in the other room going off.
Ringing like crazy. Yes. Sorry.
It's okay.
No, because it's not a funny verse.
No, but this is why I said earlier we're going to come back to this point because we have this whole... This is a hard verse.
Right.
But I want to point out that notice it's God who hands over these people. It's not just, Israel is not just allowed to go attack any random people group.
Right.
They're not allowed to go, well, we really like that over there. We want it. Because like we talked about in the first couple of weeks, certain people groups were given certain land. Moab, Edom, and the Ammonites. Their land is there. So Israel can't go, I really like the land of Edom. Let's go wipe them out. God is going to specifically pick and choose. And when he picks and choose, he has a purpose. And he has a reason why he wants them to destroyed. And it's always because basically everybody is evil. Wickedness has so corrupted that people group, that city, that God says it's time. Because truthfully, and this is where it's hard because you go, God's saying wipe them out. And you go, but what about the babies? What about the kids? Because essentially there is no one righteous. There is nothing good. And you go, what would you have God do then? If that is a wicked, evil people and they're going to turn out wicked, evil children who grow up to be wicked, evil adults, how do you stop it then? How do you stop evil? And there's times, and I'm okay if you're still wrestling with this and go, I don't like this answer yet. That's fine. I'm just going to tell you, here's what God said. And I'm here to help you. We're here to help you kind of wrestle through with this idea. Because think of Sodom and Gomorrah. Abraham begged God, and God was willing for 10 people to not destroy the city. And yet when you go and the angels show up at Lot's door, it was all the men of the city showed up for evil. When Noah and everyone, it says there was no one righteous. Everyone was full of evil. So it's oftentimes when you see God destroying and telling the people to destroy a people, it's because it's only evil. So now, if you would read, actually, we're not going to read. We're just going to look at verses 17 through 21. Noah. Now I'm in Noah. Moses is going to give a pep talk because he's like, you are going to see stronger nations. You're going to see bigger, more powerful nations. But here's what you need to remember. When you are looking at this enemy who's big and powerful, remember back to Egypt. Remember how you were slaves in the land and God took care of it. Because look at, Erica, will you read the end of verse 19?
19. The Lord your God will use the same power against all the people you fear.
Okay, I love that idea. You fear these people are going to do this. God's going to use that power. God's going to come in and take care of you. Because now, don't be afraid. Here's why. Because verse 21 tells us, the Lord who is among you is a great and awesome God. You're looking, but don't forget what you know. You know God has already done this, and he's great and awesome.
That would be a good one to memorize.
It would be.
That verse.
It would be. I mean, even to the point that these ferocious swarms of wasps in verse 20, after they wipe out the people, will go down and hunt the remaining Canaanites and sting them to death.
Seems like,
But that has nothing to do with the people. The people didn't do it. This is all God. God is saying, I'm so going to take care of everybody. Erica's going to look at verse 20.
I am. Now I'm like, wait, what? Where is that?
Do you want to read it?
No. What verse is it?
Verse 20.
And then the Lord will send terror. This says, the verse then says hornet in the little, to drive out the few survivors still hiding from you. That's so crazy.
I mean, that's the kind of destruction, and that's the kind of person they have on their side. Hey, we're so we're going to wipe you out so thoroughly, even the hornets are going to go after you. Which we all know that's God's creation. So then God's taking care of that.
Don't be on the opposite side of God. That's just what I keep coming back to. I don't know which side you're on, Lord. I just want to be on your side. At the end of the day, I am on the Lord's side.
Right? But then, okay, so if we're on God's side, let's see what kind of planner he is. Will you read verse 22?
Verse 22, the Lord your God will drive those nations out ahead of you little by little. You will not clear them away all at once, otherwise the wild animals would multiply too quickly for you.
I mean, to me, it's like, okay, God, you knew enough. It's not like, okay, if God could snap his fingers and all their enemies would be gone.
Right.
But he doesn't then therefore snap his fingers and all the people are in the land living where they need to live. Because it's going to take time to travel. And any of you who have ever tried to start a garden from scratch know what that's like to try to reclaim the land. Those of you who have had a garden and it's grown up, maybe it's been in disrepair because an older person had it. Or those of you that buy older homes and you go, maintenance wasn't done on this home.
Right.
Upkeep and care wasn't done on this home.
Right.
Think about our bodies. Even our bodies, if we don't maintain, it's a lot harder to get it back. And God goes, you know what? I've got such a good plan that I'm going to make sure these places get wiped out little by little. So people are still there maintaining everything while you're on your way there.
That is so gracious.
I know.
Of God.
I mean, when you go, hey, let's study Deuteronomy, this is why I keep going, you're going to see God's character. It's like, oh God, you have a plan, you think these through, and you're gracious in that.
Yeah.
You're looking out for small details.
Yeah.
Like that. Mm-hmm. So then we're going to just finish up this with discussing verses 23 through 26 of how God is going to take care of them. Because part of what we need to remember is Canaan was not a unified country, but it was a series of city-states that were ruled by individual kings. And I think 24, let me look at it, talks about he'll give the kings into your hands. So it's not even you've got one king you've got to go up against. It's city by city by city, which in a way could be wearisome. I have to do it again. Be a lot easier in a way if it was one king, but that would be a more powerful king, like Egypt probably. And then again, Moses is going to say, don't forget, burn the images of gods. Don't covet their gold or silver. Don't take it, because if you do, Moses makes it very obvious. If you do, those things are going to trap you. Those are going to become a stumbling block. Those are going to be a temptation, and they're detestable to God. Don't even bring them into your house. He says, basically, objects that are used in idolatry need to be destroyed along with those idolaters. We're getting rid of the people, and we're getting rid of their objects that they used for worship.
Yeah, because then I could turn around and use it.
Right. God, and what I love, though, in this chapter is God has been very clear about what's going to happen. Here's what I expect of you, and when you obey and you do what I expect of you, here's the blessings. Here's the good things that are going to happen. And he's going to be very clear about when you don't obey. Here's the bad things that are going to happen. God's not leaving this as a guessing game. God is being very specific and very kind in that he does give the reasons why. He could just come along and go, do, don't. If you do this, if you don't, this. But he also goes, but let me explain why I want you to do these things, or I don't want you to do these things. So Deuteronomy, I no longer want any of us to think of it as the law or the second law. I want you to think of it as a guidebook for a blessed life. Because even though we don't live in the land, even though we aren't that actual chosen, treasured possession from Abraham's seed, there are still so many principles here about what our lives should be like, what life is like in Christ. And you go, okay, God, yeah, it's not a guarantee my life is going to be free from disease, in trouble, but it'll be better than it would have been had I been disobedient.
Right.
So Deuteronomy, write it across is a guidebook. It really is God's hints for how to have a good, happy, blessed life.
Amen.
So,
amen. Well, thank you.
I know,
Veronica.
Isn't Deuteronomy so exciting? Who knew? But next week, come back because we're going to get into chapters 8 and 9. I will get just as excited about it. But don't forget, this is where we do want you, as you're looking ahead to those laws, and go, can you please explain this when I have never understood it? Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest you can get on Pinterest. I'm there. It's harder to interact. Or easiest way, sign up for our newsletter. Emails come right to us. They go out every Monday at 7:30 Eastern time. Plus on our emails, newsletters, you get a little insight into what's coming ahead, and you always get some family drama.
Crazy family.
Yes. So thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.